Feedback. Feedback. Hi, this is Theo Broughton.
And I am Thabiti Mpinda.
Inviting you to join us each Monday at 9 a.m. for Feedback,
a positive image production by Hood Research.
Encourage others to tune in each Monday on
Comcast Detroit, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, watch WHPR TV Network anywhere.
And take us along with you. Feedback, feedback, feedback.
It's you liberals who have lifted them up, Howard.
Paul, you conservatives make a mistake. You can't afford to strangle hope in people. Without hope, people become dangerous.
No, Howard, you liberals have let them invade our society. You give them jobs, political jobs.
Paul, you missed the point. It's only the smart ones we move up.
That makes it even worse.
No, we have to move them up. If we leave a smart one in the ghetto, he might develop into a leader against us. But if we raise him up into white society, we neutralize him. He feels compelled to try to act like us. He loses his identity and his racial anger, if he has any. He becomes alien to his brothers. They realize he sold them out, and they grow to hate him. He becomes worthless to them and safe for us. No, thank you. In fact, in his love for the creature comforts, except for his color, he's become one of us.
And we definitely are all the way live right here at WHPR 160 Victor Street. Thank all of you so much for tuning in today. My name is Theo Broughton. I'm co-founder of Hood Research, and you are tuned into Feedback, a positive image production by Hood Research. And my co-host,
Thabiti, and we welcome you to the program.
Oh, Tania, that nice broadcasting voice. Oh, I want to thank all of those of you who support this program. And for those of you who are thinking about supporting this program, please make your check or money order out to Hood Research. But if you prefer to make it out to WHPR Broadcasting Company, we have no objection for that. But we would like you to mail it to Hood Research at the P.O. Box, which is 4416, P.O. Box 4416, Detroit, Michigan 48204. Again, please mail it to Hood Research at P.O. Box 4416, Detroit, Michigan 48204. Again, I want to thank all of those of you who are helping to sponsor this program. Now, I want to say good morning to Vera and Barbara. Good morning to Ron and to Rosa. I want to say good morning to Sam and Jay way up on the east side, to Tom Barrow, and to Mitch and to James and a young lady I met recently out in the community, Aisha. I want to say good morning to her and Katrina and to Keith. And it's just so many. As I think of them, I'll have to come back and say good morning to you. And also, I want to say that yesterday I received a resolution from Senator Coleman Young II. And it was a wonderful day. And I really was appreciative of that, surprised. And I got a beautiful crystal statue that was presented to me as well that says phenomenal woman. But it was great. It was so much fun, and a lawn gathering, and just so many people came and they enjoyed themselves, and we had good music and good conversation. And I want to thank those of you who tuned in, who were there yesterday. Thank you for participating. Thabiti.
Yes, I'd like to say a shout out to Cheryl D., Gwen Renee, Brother Fred, Brother Smith Bay, Sister Jackie Bowman, Sister Frida Washington. Many of these people have become viewers as a result of TV surfing and just happened to notice that we were here. I want to tell our callers just to stay on the line for a moment. Also, I'd like to say, let your family, friends, neighbors, co-workers, and acquaintances know that Feedback is on the air now. And as I always say, have pen and paper handy because there's always valuable information you want to record and be able to go back to.
Absolutely. And you know, there was some sad information that we talked about. You know, we have a president in office now who campaigned, and it seems that he woke up the sleepy racists. And now we hear that there are women who are being shot and who are being hung. And I think it's three to date. The most recent was May of 2018. 2018 is the year that we are in right now. 2018. To still hear about and read about black people being hung from a tree. From a tree. 2018. 2018. Seems to me that we need to wake up the sleeping giants in our community and help them to understand that we need to participate in the policies that are available to us. That would include voting. That includes voting. Because those who get into the elected positions are the ones that can make your life a little better or can make your life miserable. Davidi.
Yes, I have to concur with that. I brought it up last week that we need 23 representatives to take over the House in terms of democratic control. And we can't just accept the fact that this is a midterm election and we don't see any reason to participate in it. And what troubles me more than anything is there's a lot of movies that come out. People stand in line to get tickets ahead of time and so many other things where your time, other than the entertainment value, there's probably really no social value to it. And now we're at a point where we're going to decide our local representatives. Everyone always says that politics is local, which it is, because we have to live under the local laws of those politicians who either vote for or against our best interests. So it's not something that we can just kind of shy away from. I've been voting since I was 18. I was so happy when I was able to vote. You know, it's like, I'm out of high school. I'm an adult now. And it's just something, I've always had that in my spirit. And I just hope that we can kind of translate that to neighbors and family as well.
Well, I think I have transferred it. When I was able to vote and then got married and had children, I took the children with me to the precinct to vote. And when I would vote, they would watch, you know. And I would talk to them a little about it. Of course, they were small and not able to understand all of the details, but I would insist that they know how important it is to participate. And I guess so much so that now my sons and daughter, youngest daughter, take their children and encourage their children, and they do have a couple that are old enough and they do vote because it's been passed on. But the daughter that I have who is here in Detroit, Michelle Broughton, has taken it in so much that she is currently campaigning to become a Wayne County Commissioner. And she lives in the 5th Wayne County Commission District, which is bounded between Myers on the west side, Mound Road on the east side, 8 Mile on the north side, and Grand River. It squiggles around Highland Park for whatever reason, but you know, they have to squiggle up some boundary line, and I guess that was the one. But she is campaigning right now, and on election day, those of you who live within those boundaries, please take time to look for her name as a Wayne County Commissioner and consider casting a vote for Michelle Broughton. Some people pronounce it Broughton. I'll answer to either one. But she will be good on the commission, of course.
And just before we come to you, caller, I just want to say that we had Michelle Broughton on the program a few weeks ago, and one of the things I've always considered a necessary criteria for anyone I vote for anyway is that you have to have a track record of having done things prior to it, and your name just doesn't pop up among other unknown candidates seeking a position, whether the intent is sincere or not. And I just say that Michelle Broughton has an incredible track record, as does her mother. So it's not like she's coming into this without any prior knowledge or experience. She's very experienced. So if you're in the 5th District, then vote for Michelle Broughton as your Wayne County Commissioner. And caller, now it's your turn to participate. Hello, caller, how are you, and how are you viewing us?
Yes, good morning, fellow patriots.
Good morning.
I'm viewing you on the internet.
All right. Is this
Yes.
Les?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
It's Theo
listen.
Broughton, and you're right, Tabitha. You haven't have a track record. It would be best if you had one just like Theo Broughton. But we can't always have that. But you know what bothers me when you said that, Tabitha? We got these people coming right out of college, and they want to run for office. Because they went to, because they had this class in college, and so they feel they can govern us. I think when you govern the people, you need to have some practical experience in life.
Yes, yes.
And we should have people that have been through some things and understand the process.
Right.
But we're not getting that. We're getting people that want a job.
All right, right.
And unfortunately, that's not how this is supposed to work. Because this is our government, and these are our representatives.
Right.
And it seems like they forget that once they cross that threshold of their office. They feel like they're working for somebody else instead of the people. But it says, we the people. And that's something we got to keep reminding them of.
Right.
And they should, in fact, they should have that in their, in their bio that they are working for the people.
You're right.
So,
And you know what, Les? We were talking last night, talking to Keith and Acha, and Acha was saying, and Lori was saying that they attend council meetings in suburban cities, and they were saying that in those council meetings, the people who are the employers of the council yell and scream and stomp their feet and say what they want to say and tell off the council members, and there's no police presence in the meeting, okay? And then they said, well, but when you come to the meetings in Detroit, the council gets upset. And if any of the employers who are the people in that council meeting raise their voice, then the council members, president, whomever, call the police to remove them from the room. It's quite different. And then when you look at the media, but the media does not show you that difference. They just want to make the propaganda continue that the people in Detroit are stereotypically unruly and criminal and all of that.
well, isn't that a message that's been going on for over 200 years, Theo?
It sure seems like it. That's one reason why our people need to understand why it's important to vote. And I like your VIP. What does that stand for?
Vote in the primary.
That's
Vote
right.
in primary.
That's right. Vote in
If
the
it's
primary.
warmer in the summertime, you go out there and just walk to the polls, take your time, enjoy the weather, because it could be different in November.
Yeah, oh, you got that right. But then not only that, encourage somebody to go with you. Vote in the morning, go to breakfast, then vote. Or vote around lunchtime and then go to lunch. Sit down, talk to friends and neighbors you haven't had time to speak with in a while, In the evening,
what?
go and vote and go to
Theo, Tabitha said something very, profound. He said he couldn't wait to get his voter's registration card.
I couldn't.
Right.
See, that's what I'm saying. That's how I used to be.
That's right. That's
Now,
right.
what did we lose that, Theo? When did we lose that?
Well, I think we lost it back when the curriculum was manipulated and many of the classes were removed from the school system. They don't
But
teach
why did that
government.
stop?
They don't
They
teach
should have been in
government.
their home. You know, in your home, I'm sure it was that Michelle didn't get her patriotism just from school.
No, not just from school. They did have civics when she was in school, however. But she got reinforced learning from participating, you know, when we would go to the polls. We even worked with candidates, stuffed envelopes and passed literature and that kind of thing. And we just made, I don't know, made it fun. You know, this is what we're supposed to do, you know? And my youngest grandchildren, when Barack Obama, the former president of the United States, was campaigning, these little kids made their own signs and walked up and down the street with their signs to vote for him for president. And it was just what you're supposed to do as part of improving
American
the quality
citizens.
but improving the quality of a life where you live. Yes, that's absolutely.
That's why we just, it's not that we, different from anybody else. We just happen to live in America. But I'm sure everybody wants fair treatment everywhere they live,
Right.
independent of what country they live in.
Right. And the way
So-
to get it is to participate in the community where you live. You
The
know,
vote is our voice.
you know, when somebody calls in a show and they say, yeah, well, you need to go out and rake your lawn and sweep your grass. I'm like, what? Not that you shouldn't, but there are some things that are very important that need to be supported, need to be encouraged, and need to be participated in. And one of them is voting.
I would just,
That's what I say.
I-
But it seems like, you know what haunts me, and you probably heard me say this many times, in the last 3 years that I've been away from when I went to Washington, D.C.
Uh-huh.
on October the 5th in 2015
Mm-hmm.
in the Million Man reunion.
Mm-hmm.
It was thousands and thousands of black people out there that day. And to have me be the only black man out there carrying the American flag, to me, shows the lack of understanding of where we are and what that flag means to us.
And
It ain't about them. It's always been about us.
Mm-hmm.
That flag we have represented the flag proudly. We can't help if other people have not represented our flag proudly
That's right.
because of their crazy thoughts and minds.
Mm-hmm.
To have a person say that three-fourths of a fifth of a human being, that's even scientifically. You a scientist, you shouldn't disperse that
Right.
theory.
That's right. That's
To
right.
me, if we could continue to think about crazy Leroy and Bubba, then we the mistake and what they say.
Mhm.
But the Constitution speaks for itself.
Oh,
The
yeah.
words speak for themselves.
Yes.
I mean, everybody say that the Constitution was written for them, but hey, was the Bible written for you?
Hey.
I'm
Yeah.
just saying, you follow the Bible, words of the Bible. It's not it's the words. You follow the words. Words are important. And what words you follow in your life makes you who you are.
That's right. I
So,
agree. I agree.
So
I will
all I
thank
can
you.
say, be a VIP, vote in the primary, get involved. And, just finding out who the person is that represents you, because the vote is our voice. Say, Sabiti, you vote for somebody, I vote for somebody different. Whoever wins, they all speak for both of us.
Yeah,
They
that's
speak for
right.
you
In the
and me.
end, they are responsible to speak for both of us. Thank you so much for your input this morning. Thank you for calling.
Thank you for allowing
That's
me to
right.
vent this
Well,
morning.
Les Little is a lifetime member of Hood Research. Peace.
That's right. The proud member of Hood Research. I brag about Hood Research all the time. I had to, defend Hood Research about, Baker Thompson. He was talking about some research, and I thought Hood Research, we was here long before that post thing
That's
was
right.
going on.
Absolutely.
It's all right. So
Thank
y'all
you.
have a great day.
You too.
thank you, brother.
And people should log on to hoodresearch.org Oregon. And follow us on Facebook.
Real quick, one of the things I like to just say, and I'm coming right to you, caller, is I remember, like Les asked the question, what happened to, where did we fall off? But then I think about James Brown, everybody over there, get on up. Everybody right there, get into it. Everybody right here, get involved. We had musicians who took political stances and made it entertaining as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, it was entertaining, but you know, I have found that sometimes through entertainment, whether it's humor, comedians, or songs or something, that the message is always
That's
delivered. It just depends on how you convey it.
That's right. That's where that word edutainment came in. Huh?
Yes.
All right.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please?
This is Mr. Brown.
Thank you for calling.
How you feel?
I'm fine. How you watching us?
TV 33.
All right. Come on, talk to us.
I just wanted to say you did exceptionally well this morning.
Oh, well, thank you, sir.
It must be the sun radiating off of you.
I like that.
Vitamin D. Oh,
Have a
yeah.
good day, Theo.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna come to you, caller, but I want to also ask the viewing and listening audience: did anyone make it over to the Highland Park Arts and Music Festival, which was this past Saturday on Glendale between 2nd and 3rd? I was over there for a while. It's very well attended, and it was just good to see my people interacting in a beautiful and loving and fun way. People were
That's right.
laughing, having a good time with each other. So if anybody happened to attend the Highland Park's Art and Music Festival this past Saturday, share your experience with us.
Yeah, family reunion, huh?
Yes.
Highland Park family reunion.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Would you share your name and how you're viewing us, please? Hello, caller.
Can you
Yes.
hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Your name?
Hey, Phil, this is Michael.
Oh, thanks for calling. Michael calls from Connecticut. Yes, sir. What's the input this morning?
So you're talking about politics, right?
Go ahead. Yes.
I'm a supporter of what we talked before, co-president format.
Yes.
You know, so if you have a Republican as the president and the vice president should be a Democrat.
Oh.
And that kind of feasibility can be beneficial, like for example, if you're voting for a Supreme Court nominee and the Congress is voting and it's even, instead of leaving the vice president, I mean not the vice president, but well, yeah, you leave up to the vice president, but if it's from a different party, then you don't have that guarantee where the majority rules.
So we should have, if we should have a Democratic president, we should have a Republican, Libertarian vice president. That's what you're saying.
Well, I'm not saying a libertarian, but maybe a moderate or the classical Republican representative.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also interested in mail-in voting system. You know,
In the what? In
so
what
like
kind of
the
system?
kind that they have in Oregon.
Oh, the system where you pick first, second, and third choice? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, no, I'm just talking about instead of going to a physical location. You know, just because the voting system is so outdated. You know that you have to vote on Tuesday versus. You know, I'm for weekend voting, mail-in, all that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
paper ballot, that whole stuff. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it start going to computerized and stuff. It could be hacked. You know,
Yeah.
whereas if you have paper ballot,
And
you
I
know,
don't have a
just
problem going
yes,
back to
it's
paper
old
ballot.
fashioned and time consuming, but
You
it's
can-
less
hacking is so easy. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, maybe we should go back to paper ballots because we got a lot of strange things happening now with this electronic process.
And the Russians.
Oh, don't forget the Russians. Oh, forget them.
and
Oh,
and and and, and I'm a big fan of having civic clubs. You know, so
a big fan of
in,
having
in,
what?
in
Civics.
urban
Yeah.
areas or
Oh,
wherever
yes.
black people live, that we
Yes.
should have a civic club, study group.
Uh-huh.
To how to use the political process to your
Mhm.
advantage. You know, because
Right.
we're in a situation where how many people stayed home when they didn't like the candidate. You know what I'm saying? They didn't like Hillary. They didn't like Answer 45. They didn't like either choice. So we can't take that approach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. But I
All
like
right.
I thank you so much for that input. I like the idea of having study groups, and even at Hood Research, we have a presentation of say a portion of the city charter or a portion of the state constitution. We would not go through the whole thing in our meeting because for some people that's not interesting. But what we do want is to have a portion of the charter or the constitution reviewed, and the Hood Research Director does that because it is a way of learning your rights. The state constitution bears your rights. The city charter, or bears your rights. But I thank you so much, Michael, for joining and sharing that. You know,
Okay. Have a good.
all right, you too. You know, the BD is interesting that the labels that are put on the process and the elected officials are so what's a good wishy-washy, let's use that term, because the president of the United States is the let's compare them, is the same as the governor of one state, is the same as the executive of a county, and the same as the mayor of a city. Now, all of those are different names, different labels, different titles. But you could have the president of the United States, president of the state, president of the county, president of the city. And the people would understand faster what that means. They are responsible for the administration of the actions of the various departments in carrying out the various policies and laws. You have the Constitution of the United States, which is the same as a constitution, the title of a state, which is actually the same as a charter of the county and the charter of a city. Well, those are the laws that are meant to protect the people in the country, the state, the county, and the city. Some of them have little differences, but that's what it is, you know. Then you have uh, the lawmakers, the Congress, which is made up of the House of United House of Representatives and the United Senators. They make the laws for the country. The state has state senators and state representatives, and they make laws for the state, but they're not called Congress. Then you go to the county, and it's Wayne County Commissioners for us, because we're in Wayne County, county commissioners for some of the other counties. And in the cities, they have council members who make the laws. They're not called congressmen. The county ones are not congressmen. But you could always identify them by saying city congress members. Man, want to do that, you know. Want to be set aside. Anything to confuse the public. So at the Hood Research meeting, we have a presentation of some parts of our charter or some parts of our Constitution. We even showed the 13th Amendment. It was a movie.
Right.
And the place was wall-to-wall people, floor-to-ceiling people. They were everywhere. And I was excited that so many people were interested in the 13th Amendment of the United States Constitution. And perhaps because there's a part in there that says that if you are incarcerated for criminal, offense, you actually revert back to becoming a slave. And that's how they ended up renting out incarcerated prisoners. They rented them out to work, to be on plantations. As a matter of fact, it was maybe 2 weeks ago now that a grave was discovered in Texas that was full of incarcerated people who had been rented out and murdered.
Right.
So there are things that happen, not necessarily on the street where you live, but they affect you in the state where they take place, the county where they take place. And you need to be aware of that. Really need to be aware of it.
It's sad that people may complain amongst themselves in groups about, family gatherings, neighbors or such, but to complain to someone who doesn't have power, as we may not have, just say individually, but our power is in our vote. Mm-hmm. So now when they decide they want to take your taxes and spend it on something that you don't approve of, like I don't personally care for my federal taxes to be spent on a war that I don't support. Mm-hmm. However that happens. Mm-hmm. But if you don't vote, if you don't voice your opinion through the ballot box, nobody knows what you're thinking. Mm-hmm. I think it's, I've talked to people, particularly my children in the 20s and 30s. I try to, because I like rap, fortunately for me, that's a bridge that allows me to speak to the generation behind me, mm-hmm. because I can identify with some of their interests, and hopefully because I'm familiar with some of their interests, they can become more familiar with mine. It's not like we have this so-called generation gap where I'm looking at it from an old school perspective, they're looking at it from a new school, and we can't seem to build a bridge between us. Mm-hmm. It's not impossible. I think the most important thing any human or individual can do is be open-minded. Mm-hmm. To be narrow or closed-minded means that nothing's coming in and you're holding your ground to an idea that may be archaic. We can no longer afford to do that. I would like to see churches, even though they're not political, it's not like they can't use their facilities to allow someone to come in and say, well, look, we want to educate our children, let's say, for instance, in politics, maybe African American history, whatever is necessary for that community mm-hmm. to grow and thrive, and for them to abdicate that responsibility and just look at building funds and, social activities, which we need as a people. But education is the thing that will either free us or keep us enslaved.
That's right. That's right. If you would open up the ballot to show people what it's going to look like on August when they go to the polls. I had on this radio this morning, and somebody had called me and told me to turn over this program, and this Detroit news writer thought that he would, it appeared to me, try to brainwash black folks and tell them that, not long from now, you won't have any Social Security, so you should take charge or take your money, and you shouldn't want it to be in Social Security. You should help to change that, and you can control your own, and you can put it into a private fund. Wall Street takes private funds, and that's how a lot of the corporations get more wealthy by the minute, or should I say second, and to plant that kind of seed, I thought was kind of interesting. You know, there won't be any left for you when you get there. I'm like, that's the craziest thing that I ever heard. When you have some brilliant people who can work on different ways of governing the country, different ways of using the money that accumulates in this country. Yes, we have a big deficit, it's in the trillions, but we also spend money on countries outside of the United States. Outside, I think every year we pay $5 billion to Israel, isn't it? There are other countries, we maintain military bases in other countries. And not that that's a bad thing. However, we have a very bloated military budget at this time. Better equipment and more equipment than anybody else on the planet. And they keep putting money there.
And the Pentagon never asked for the money. The administration just feels like, yeah, let's just give them some more money. Money they never even asked for. They say, look, we don't need any more jets. How are we going to give you money for jets anyway?
Yeah. And now I heard a report that the man who's in the Oval Office now threatens to shut down the government if you don't give me money to build that wall. I mean, the craziest thing I ever heard. He needs to build a wall, as I said before, between Canada and the United States, because there's not a lot of conversation about the sex trafficking that goes on. I mean, they're snatching kids off the street, not just kids, adults too, and turning them into sex slaves. As hard as that is to believe, it is happening. They are snatching people off the street and taking their kidneys, their livers, their hearts for transplantation. It is happening. It's interesting that the media doesn't want to share that kind of information with you, but it's happening in larger numbers than you can imagine. And Michigan, where we live, happens to be one in the top 10, if not number one.
You know, I think it's important for people to, I mean, we have our specific interests. Some guys like ESPN and sports. Some women will get into the soaps or the Hallmark Channel or the Lifetime, which we do need those diversions. And Theo says it's quite a bit, you know, we got to have fun along with taking care of business, but we just can't have fun and not take care of business.
Absolutely.
And I'm troubled with the fact that, and I've often said this, on an election day, you'll probably spend less than an hour in the voting booth. You maybe even all your travel time combined is probably less than an hour, but you will spend hours at a baseball, football, or some other type of event, which other than the fact that it's a relief, it does nothing for you on a political level. So just to be able to go out, we should encourage, because obviously with the gerrymandering, et cetera, they're trying to, you know, discourage voting, which is anti-American anyway. Anyone who, and I'm saying this for the politicians and those who support them, anyone who tries to discourage participation in the political process is actually an enemy of the government and the people, because everyone who is a citizen who's legally able to vote should be able to vote. And this should be without barriers or obstacles or how many bubbles in a bar of soap. Well, they can't go back to that, so they found other slick methods to do it.
And you know, there's a new thought that's floating around, and there are a few other states where this is practiced. You vote for your first, second, and third choice. And if the person with the highest number of votes does not get 51%, then they start knocking off people at the bottom and adding votes. And that sounds like some real slick manipulation in itself. But what if you vote for the same person as your first choice, same person as your second choice, same person as your third choice? I guess, didn't address that issue at all. But there's on the horizon other ideas of how this should be done. Now, I don't see it happening here anytime soon because the clerks in this state have recently purchased brand new equipment. And I believe it was last year that it was used for the first time. So it'll be a little while perhaps before we are asked to consider that kind of process.
And we have to understand the difference between us and them. And when I say us and them, I'm speaking about corporate interests as opposed to citizens' interests. Because certainly the lobby groups, we're all familiar with the Koch brothers on some level or other, but you got public, you have lobbyists, you have other people who have groups, special interest groups, who are out there making a lot of noise to get theirs. We make our noise in our private groupings, but I prefer to, and I take my granddaughter and I've gone with my niece, my mom, we go out and vote. And of course, as Theo said, when she brought her children, they may not have been aware at a young age what was going on, but they were a part of it. So as they grow into understanding what it's about and the value of it. And I, personally, as I said and Les noted earlier, I couldn't wait to vote. And I actually ran for precinct delegate at one time as well. And I was young. I am a political science major, so I'm sure that had a lot to do with it. And then because of my maturity, we ain't gonna say age, but I was able to participate in civics classes at school. But I was a student who just loved to learn. Now, some guys they want to be jocks. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you just shouldn't be one-dimensional. I think that's the biggest problem we got, being one-dimensional.
Yeah, that's true. And we have some professional sports athletes who are just as accomplished academically, but they don't get the kind of promotion and publicity that they should,
Paul Robeson, although he's an older example, but we have some who are modern, was an excellent example. I mean, he was able to get letters in so many different sports, but academically he was a giant. And therefore he was a threat as well because his intellectual weight was even stronger than his athletic ability. And he had a platform, which is another thing that we have to be aware of. If we have any type of platform, some of you who are on social media who let's say, share clips of different things. That's your platform, and particularly if you have people who are followers, like I've had on YouTube and certain other social media, use that platform. I put up little witty things, humorous things, but I never fail to put up something political because part of my job is to encourage people to think. That's all I want you to do is think.
We should all do that, right. Now, on the ballot that you have, there's a section that includes proposals. And we've been doing some research on whether it is legal to put proposals on a primary ballot. And we don't think it is. But how many proposals are on there?
We have one proposal, which is Proposal R, for the general revision of the 2012 Detroit City Charter. And the question is, do you favor a general revision of the 2012 Detroit City Charter by a Charter Revision Commission?
My answer is no. My vote is no. My encouragement to all of you tuned in is no. And I ask that you vote no and that you encourage your family, friends, coworkers, church members, neighbors, anybody in the grocery store, vote no. One reason is, if there is something in the charter that governs the city of Detroit, the charter is the Constitution of Detroit, the Bible of Detroit, rules of Detroit, okay? If there is something that you wish to change, you can put an amendment on the ballot and ask the voters to vote to change it. You do not have to have a committee to open the charter, look at every little detail, and come up with changes. There is something that is really interesting about how this ended up on the ballot. There was no publicity, no conversation, no public meeting about it. It just began to ease its way into the election commission and the election department and its way to the ballot. And all of a sudden, some of the people who are concerned about our quality of life found out about it. Just wait a minute. There was no publicity. We were not asked to have candidates on the ballot in November in case this crazy thing passes. So they had to scramble and get enough votes to be included. There's something about a lack of inclusion around here that needs to be addressed. The charter should have been opened 16 years from the last time, which would have been this year. However, there were those who said, no, let's don't wait till 2018. Let us open it in 2012 because we need to look at it. We need to change some things. So the charter was actually opened in 2012. And there were some changes made. And instead of having a balanced government, we have a government through charter that leans heavily for the mayor, whoever the mayor is. Whoever the mayor is. That's not to say anything good or bad about the one that's mayor now. However, if this charter is open, the intent appears to be to make it a mayor's charter, mayor's rules, mayor's laws, mayor's government over the city of Detroit. Whoever the mayor is. And the mayor we have right now could drop dead tomorrow. And if that charter was changed, we might get somebody who's even worse. So I encourage you to vote no on Proposal R. Leave the charter as it is. Read the charter, learn the charter. And if there is a section of the charter that needs to be improved, changed, eliminated, then put an amendment on the ballot and ask the voters to consider making that change.
You know, I would add to that as Theo said, the charter is the constitution for the city of Detroit. It sets up the rules, boundaries of what can and cannot be done. Mm-hmm. Now, we remember, many of us growing up, that they used to say, let's say, for instance, you're dealing with law enforcement, there's no excuse for ignorance of the law. And truly, if it's there and you're a citizen, you're supposed to know what you can and cannot do, which is legal or illegal. So I add that same mindset to the charter, that you need to know, because to find out afterwards and say, well, I didn't know I could do that. Well, you're a member of the city. So as a member of the city, you need to know what your limits are, what your rights are, what you can do. Now, we know that there's an ombudsman's office and other, different entities within city government, but it's our responsibility to really know what's going on, because then you can make a decision based on knowledge and information, mm-hmm. and not on hearsay and guessing. And I think too many of us lightly disregard that. Now, Theo, if you will, because you definitely know more than this about me, how might a person acquire a charter?
Well, you can go to the city clerk's office and purchase one. They're approximately $8, and you can have your own. However, if you have access to your computer, a computer, they have them at the library. If you don't have your own, you can log on to the Detroit website, and you can read any section of the charter that you choose to, right on the internet. You know, the birth of the internet, which actually was in 1995. That doesn't mean computers didn't exist before. They did. But in 1995, the computer was being introduced to the world, actually. There wasn't much on it. And in 1996, Hood Research began to teach access to the computer to our community. And we taught it for so long and so well that the Wayne County Community College started teaching it. And if you're 60 years of age, you can take that class free of charge. They have three different ones. The first is the Introduction to Computers. But at 60 years of age, you can take that class and others free of charge. There are about 120 classes to choose from at Wayne County Community College, and they are adding more all the time. Those are two of the ways that you can do it. And as I said at the Hood Research meeting, we'll go over a section of it when we have our meeting, which is the second Saturday of each and every month. We are currently meeting at the Dabo Center, which is on Grand River and Wyoming. The address of the Dabo Center is 12048 Grand River. That's 12048 Grand River on the corner of Wyoming. And our meetings start at 2 p.m. and they last until 6, from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Candidates are welcome to come, and those who are in attendance have an opportunity to vet or to question candidates so that they can make up their own mind who they want to support. The opportunity to go over and just, go back and forth with do's and don'ts and what we need to do, which is best for us, is very important. And that's why we encourage people to join Hood Research on the second Saturday of each and every month, because it's a good time to hear what others have to say about whatever the subject happens to be, and introduce your own subject. We don't have any problem with that. Just come out and share. That's good.
And I would add too, just like I say at the beginning of this program, have pen and paper handy. When you come to a Hood Research meeting, you better have pen and paper handy because there's so many different fronts that we are dealing with and fighting for that, as Theo said, different people present different things. And what's beautiful about it is that these people are passionate in their research. I mean, Hood Research and other research, they're passionate about it. They go into detail. If you listen to Hassan Alim and Carl Williams, you will know that they don't do it. They do it because there's a love for it and there's absolute necessity for it. So sometimes, certainly when I'm at Hood Research meeting, I'm just like the student in the back of the room. I got pen and paper ready and I'm just writing things down. And then every now and then I'm in my own mind like, wow, because of the things that you might learn. And we do have a circle that we socialize with, but we need to broaden that circle or get into other circles as well.
That's
Being
right.
part of Hood Research is a circle that definitely will make you more knowledgeable. And I'll just add this last thing in my own thoughts, that the one thing about me, and I know many other people, is that once you get a kernel of information or knowledge, if you're really a person who's passionate about learning, it compels you to go ahead and find out more about it. But to not know is the thing that I think hinders and hampers us more than anything else. But if I hear something, someone calls in, I'm like, wow, I had no idea. And at that point, I'm on my mission, because your mission is to learn and then to act.
That's right. And last month, we had the director of the ethics department for the city to join us so that we could find out what that department does, how it benefits the community, and how we can use it to make the quality of our life better. This coming Saturday, speaking of expanding our circle of influence, the Barton McFarlane Neighborhood Association will be meeting on Joy Road in Appeline. They meet at 2 p.m. and the address is 12801 Joy Road. That's 12801 Joy Road on the corner of Appeline. And we'll be celebrating Abana Hogan's birthday. Abana Hogan, I think most of you know, works for the county clerk. And so we're going to celebrate her birthday this coming Saturday at 12801 Joy Road on the corner of Appeline. That's the Barton McFarlane Neighborhood Association.
And I would like to say that when I mentioned the circle of people that you associate with, I was trying to encourage one of my nephews because I wanted him to understand uh, as he became a man the things he needed to be aware of, and kind of I try to use analogies because sometimes that's maybe the best way a person can see it. So I said, and I would tell him, I said, well, look, musicians hang around musicians, artists hang around artists, politician or politically motivated people hang around motivated people. Negroes hang around Negroes. Niglets hang around Niglets. So the point being is that you have to look at the circle that you're in. And if it's not a progressive, positive circle, then you're in the wrong group. You know, maybe you want to identify with, I know people get involved in gangs and clan, because that's another gang. Some of the guys in the blue uniform, that's part of a subculture of gangs. Those who are into it only to be on a power trip, but you have to make sure that the circle you're in is something that's going to enhance and better your life instead of someone who's going to keep you. We used to have a thing, you know, Theo, where we didn't want, if somebody was talking, I guess what you would call proper English, then it's like you were alienated or something like that, as if it was something bad. But then that means that you were in a circle of people who didn't have any upward social mobility, no goals or anything. So what they sought to do is just keep you within that same set that they were in. But you have to understand that particularly when you become an adult, and I've got a 40-year-old nephew, 40-year-old plus nephew, who still thinks it's all right to wear sagging pants. He's got children, maybe 10 or 11 years old. And my thing is, when is the cutoff? It seems like there's supposed to be a cutoff when you say, okay, look, you know, I'm a little too old for this. I've got a problem with that. Maybe it's me.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's you. I think 40 is kind of old to have the crack of your behind showing. That's a bit much.
Proudly, too.
Yeah, oh, right. It sounds like they're a bit immature and trying hard not to admit that they're getting older. That's what it sounds like. They want to be a kid, but no, that's no. There are some standards that people need to consider right, because oftentimes the underwear is dirty that's showing. Is there anything else on the ballot that you wanted to bring up?
Well, I wanted
Or
to ask you
show?
this, Theo. Now, in the primary, are you required to either vote straight ticket, like either Republican, Democratic, Libertarian, et cetera, or can you, because we know in some, I think in the general election, you generally can, you may want a Republican in this case, but
Crossover.
a crossover. But in the primary, I think you can't do that.
No.
Okay.
And you're not required to vote a straight party ticket, but it would be beneficial to write down all of the candidates that you are considering and check to make sure that when you go there, you don't make any mistakes.
And I'll just read the heading of this, which says partisan section. Vote only one party section, which is why I brought the question up,
Right.
because
Yeah,
I want to be sure, and I want everyone else to
That's
be
right.
sure.
Right, and you know, that's when I talk about labels, you know, the president, the governor, the commissioner, the executive, and all of that, but they do the same thing. Partisan just simply means party. And instead of simplifying it, they just want to make it, you know, more confusing for people. Well, we are at the end of the program today, and the time just seems to race past when we're enjoying a good conversation. But I want to say it's not necessary for you to know everything. But what is necessary is for you to know how to find what you need when you need it. We at Hood Research encourage you to join us as we seek as much information as we can, and we hope that you do, to share, to help us all make better informed decisions. And I hope that you will consider joining Hood Research. The telephone number is area code 248-234-2371. Again, the telephone number for Hood Research is area code 248-234-2371. Speedy?
If you want to be nothing, do nothing. But the only problem with doing nothing is you never know when you're finished. Make sure you vote in the primary.
All right. Call us anytime. And now,
Stay tuned for Get in the Know with Marley B.